This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use, but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All2ReelToo. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is...
Sesame, Cockhorse, and Carta.
That is a very unfortunate name. I do not like it. It makes me feel bad. It makes me feel kind of like icky inside.
Yeah, me too. I didn't want to change it this week, but I had to. Those are the rules. So
Did they make you choose this name?
no, I chose it. I didn't want to choose it, but I had to because I saw a movie recently, and then the phrase "cockhorse" was in it, and it was not used as like a euphemism either. Like it apparently
Is a
it's like
thing?
apparently, it's a real animal, and at least in Britain at the time, called a cockhorse. Maybe they mean like I don't even know. I didn't even bother to look it up because I was afraid if I typed in the word cockhorse that it would send me to the different reverse name with H. And I didn't want to. I didn't want to get in trouble for like searching for something that's probably not legal. So I didn't do it. I'm smart that way. I'm a smart bird. I'm a smashing bird, if you will.
Yes, you are. I did look it up if you're interested in more history of the cockhorse.
Sure.
If someone tells you to ride a cockhorse, don't take offense. They're not necessarily being rude. A cockhorse is one of many possible things, all of them perfectly innocent. There's even a lovely nursery rhyme about the cockhorse being ridden by a fine lady.
Oh my God.
So what is a cockhorse and where does it come from? A cockhorse is a phrase that comes from around the 15th century. It can mean high-spirited horse. Maybe maybe that's where the word cocky comes from. I don't know. That's what I can think of. Though it can also mean an entire or uncastrated horse. A cockhorse may also refer to the additional horse to assist pulling a cart or carriage up a hill. From the mid 16th century, it came to mean pretend horse or hobby horse.
Okay.
So it makes sense in this movie there. But
Yeah.
Do you want to hear part of the nursery rhyme?
Sure.
That they do? Ride a cockhorse to Banbury Cross to see an old lady upon a white horse. Rings on her fingers and bells on her toes, and so she makes music wherever she goes.
Okay.
Yeah. The more you know, folks. The more you know.
Sting.
Okay. So today on the show, we are not covering a movie called Cockhorse because that'd be weird. And we're covering a movie that has like 5 different names. And
Right.
in the United States, it was called School for Unclaimed Girls. It's a British drama sexploitation film. It was originally called The Smashing Bird I Used to Know. I remember that song by Gautier, The Smashing Bird I Used to Know. Wait, that wasn't it. Okay,
No,
so
that was Brother made that song. And
yeah. Now you're just some smashing bird that I used to know. Some smashing bird I used to know. No,
smashing was like a British slang that meant kind of like cool or whatever, and a bird.
cool, birdie, yeah.
I guess.
What's that? I think it's like a name for like a girl, because you'd be like, she's a bird because she's like that bird I used to date sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, because The Boys recently, Billy Butcher was talking about how him and his brother were gonna go to this restaurant in Nevada, and he says where the birds whip out their tits basically or whatever, and I was like, bird. But then I saw this, and I was like, smashing bird. I'm like, okay, Britain. Billy Butcher's from Britain. He says bird. It means women or girl. I'm like, okay, so I figured it out.
Some kind of weird like aviary type thing, where birds are whipping out their tits.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I'm like, what is he talking about? Like, I was like, I didn't know if they meant like they were serving like the birds, like chicken. The chicken was hot, like spicy.
Maybe it's slang for chicken breast.
That's what I thought he meant for a second. I'm like, wow, they're gonna go all the way to Nevada just to eat some like barbecue. It's like that's a lot of traveling.
So the movie was also called, as we call it, in America, School for Unclaimed Girls. It was reissued later under Hell House Girls, and it was also known as House of Unclaimed Women.
I mean, come on, like, I don't know. I kind of like the School for Unclaimed Girls more, but even that doesn't make much sense because it's not school. It's like not at all. It's like a halfway house, essentially, is what it is. I mean, or something like that,
or a reformatory sort of thing.
What it was, reformatory for girls, basically who've quote committed a crime of some sort, and they're set to live there instead of like an actual jail or prison in order to
we'll talk about what these things were actually crimes or not. So it might have been at the time. This movie came out in 1969 on August 25th. It was directed by Robert Hartford Davis, who is known to make several films of this type, kind of salacious type movies, I guess.
Was it even salacious? Well, I mean,
no, for the time it was.
Okay, all right.
I mean, there was nudity in it. There was, different things. So yeah,
true. Okay,
I mean, this wasn't like, like Deep Throat or something. This wasn't like pornography, but this was
right.
Yeah. It was written by somebody named John Peacock. Speaking of cocks, and I still say that if at one point Peacock and Paramount Plus were thinking of merging into one streaming app, and I really think they should just name it Cock Mount. Or Mount Cock, one of the two, Yeah.
And then if Max gets involved, then it's Max Cock, or I don't know. Oh boy.
It'd be Cock Mount Max Flix if you get Netflix in there too, or something. Yeah.
Just have one big conglomerate cock, and
just call it Big Cock. And
wow, we're so immature today.
I know. Wow. So, anywho, the movie starred Renee Asherson, Patrick Maurer, Denise Waterman, Madeline Hind, Maureen Lipman. It also was the film debut of Leslie Ann Down, who is like a really famous actress, British actress. So she's a singer, actress, model, probably known most for like the Pink Panther Strikes Again, A Little Night Music, the First Great Train Robbery, the 1982 Hunchback of Notre Dame, but she also from April of 2003 to February of 2012 she portrayed Jackie Marone on the CBS soap opera The Bold and the Beautiful in the United States. So she was on that show for almost 20 years. So or not 20 years, almost 10 years. So yeah, that's she also was on the soap opera. She was on the series Dallas. She was also on the soap opera Sunset Beach. So yeah, she's did a lot of stuff. So yeah.
Cool.
And in this, she plays Diana. I don't know which one Diana is.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of their names, to be honest. Any of the
Neither.
characters.
So yeah, I don't know.
We're gonna be blind here. We're gonna be flying blind like a smashing bird. And
Yes,
so
with a blindfold on, a smashing bird. No, that's how he ended up. That's how the bird ended up smashing, was because he was blindfolded.
he smashed into a wall. That's why it says smashing bird. I used to know.
Yeah. Or it's one of those, smashing bird I used to know is one of those birds that just flies into like a sliding glass door. Just
Yep. It's a sad, but it's tragic.
Yes. So the Internet Movie Database synopsis for this movie is: a traumatized and troubled teenager is sent to an all-girls detention home where she strikes up an unlikely friendship with a fellow inmate.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of it's kind of a simplistic view of things, but I guess it's somewhat accurate. There's really not much to say because, like, you have to actually. It's one of those movies where not a lot happens, but there's a lot of character development, so you have to actually watch the movie to know what would happen.
If you're listening right now and you have not seen this movie, I recommend pressing pause because we'll still be here and coming back later and listening to the rest of the episode after you watch this. It's on Amazon Prime right now, and it's, I think, on YouTube and other places too. So I'm sure you can find it somewhere. So yeah. I'd recommend checking it out. As much as it's weird, I actually think it's interesting to watch. And actually, some of the filming techniques are interesting in this movie. So yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like a quote unquote art film, sort of, in a way.
Yeah, it's kind of like an art film, or it kind of almost reminds me of some of the weird shit I did in college in my college films. So yeah, film school films,
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah, so, what are your initial thoughts here?
I don't know, man. Like I said, it was interesting. It's very much a product of its time. 1969 Britain. It's got that whole thing going. I liked it. I mean, the music was pretty cool. The acting was really, really good, I thought. I think they did a great performance for such a, kind of a obscure movie. They put their all into it, regardless if it was like going to be some huge success or not. The special effects were kind of weird, but like cool and like a retro. I mean, it wasn't retro at the time, obviously, but like now looking back on it, I could see like some effects that I could just do with like my own film editing software I have on my computer. Just easily. I mean,
that's the thing. You could do this on your phone in like the TikTok app or something, so you could just.
But back then, you actually had to like put quite a bit of effort and knowledge and work into it. I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. It's kind of boring in a sense that like not a lot happens, but the character development was really good. It was executed very well, I think. I probably would watch it again, like at least a couple more times. I was bored and just wanted, to just kind of watch it again with a new set of eyes, so to speak, to see if I missed something, the first time or whatever. Really interesting symbolism, not the cock horse. Although I guess technically there was some symbolism with that. But yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I think it's unfortunate that they gave it 4 different names and probably confused their audiences by doing it that way.
I mean, it may have, but at the time, if it's you don't have something like the internet where you can find out that it had 4 different names. So it's like,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes when they would rename things and they'd re-release it, it would be to trick people into thinking that they hadn't seen it, and.
Right, exactly. Like, oh, cool, I'm gonna buy a movie ticket. And it's like, God damn it, I already saw this movie.
Yeah, or put it on a double bill with another movie, to get people to see the other movie or something, and then they think, oh, you're getting an extra movie, but wait, this is the same movie I saw 2 years ago or something. Yeah,
right, exactly.
But I mean, I liked it. I think some of the experimental like editing techniques were interesting. It reminds me a lot of some of the films I saw when I was in college, talking about that, like in my experimental film class. But this is more commercial in certain ways. But it reminded me in some ways of some of the stuff that was more risque, done by like Kenneth Anger and other people that around the same era who did some, weird stuff, like having sex with the devil and weird shit like that at the time. So yes, this wasn't quite that risque. So
no. It
No.
was
yeah.
had taint to a lot of the thing is too, calling it a sexploitation film, I don't really understand. I mean, yeah, there was obviously like an attempt rape, but I just because they have that doesn't make it automatically a
sexploitation doesn't necessarily mean sex in the scenes. It means a movie that stars a lot of attractive women. Because there's like things like, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls and stuff like that were considered sexploitation type films. There's a lot of stuff, for the definition of like a sexploitation film would, it'd be basically it's hard to I'm going to look and see what Wikipedia tells us here. Like a sexploitation film is a class of independently produced, low-budget feature films that is generally associated with the 1960s and early 70s that serves largely as a vehicle of exhibition of non-explicit sexual situations and gratuitous nudity.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, it's the genre is a subgenre of exploitation films. So, because you had like blaxploitation films and stuff too. And
right.
Most of these films were like shown in like grindhouse theaters, and probably at like drive-ins and stuff that were more like these weren't going to be the movies that were starring like, Paul Newman or somebody at the time. It would just be like, you wouldn't have them in the same theaters as those type of places. These weren't like your Paramount or your Warner Brothers movies. These were independent films that were shown at the the cheaper theaters and stuff like that. So yeah. And I mean, sometimes they can be considered softcore pornography because some of them did get a little more that. And I mean, there is also like other terms for these. Like, I mean, this is all just stuff I'm remembering and glancing here from the Wikipedia. Like they used to call some of them nudie cuties. Yeah, it was it's basically like it's sometimes basically where you're like implying nudity, but you don't actually have the nudity too. Sometimes like you can have somebody with a blanket or a towel around them or something,
Right.
So but this was probably shown in the grindhouse theaters, and they would do that a lot with these movies where they would retitle them grindhouse type movies. And this is kind of what like Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez were trying to do with their grindhouse movies that they had in the, trying to like recreate that sort of like, a lot of them were like crazy, things like Switchblade Sisters and weird names like, yeah. So anywho, I liked it, but it was boring for a while. So
yeah, that was.
So what goes down in this, like in, a basic plot here?
So basically, this character, I forgot her name. Sorry.
Vicky, or not? No, I mean Nicki, not Vicky. Nicki.
Yeah, Nicki. She when she was like really young, she was I don't know,
9-year-old Nicki.
Yeah, no, just that's a weird name.
I know.
And she was on like a carousel with her dad at like the fair or whatever, and she got scared and wanted to get off, and so her dad was gonna try to reach over and just kind of like, tap her shoulder, encourage her or whatever to, that everything's gonna be fine. But then he fell off the carousel and died somehow, which I don't know how that would work.
Basically, he fell off, and like the hoof of one of the horses on the carousel hit him in the head. Because they go down. But the thing is, if you actually look on a real carousel, they're designed so that doesn't happen to people. But maybe they weren't at the time. But I know all of the carousels I've ever ridden on don't do that. So
right, and even if it did, would the hoof be with that much force that it would kill somebody? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And,
I mean, if you hit them in the right way, I guess it could. So
I know, but they showed like all this gore and blood and shit, like it completely smashed them. No pun intended. He was the smashing bird that she used to know. Oh, sorry.
Maybe it's just called the smashing horse, because the horse did the smashing. So
exactly. And so she blames herself for that, because I guess like at the funeral she overheard someone say something like, "Oh, that poor girl's gonna think this was her fault," or something like that. So then, just by overhearing that, then she came to believe that it was her fault, and so she was always stricken with guilt for the most of her life. And then we cut to, she's a teenager now, don't know the exact age, somewhere probably in high school or something like that.
Yeah.
And her mom is like infatuated with this like slimy dude. It's like thinks he's like a businessman kind of guy, but doesn't actually really own an actual business. But it's one of these guys who like talks about business all the time, but never actually really does anything with like their quote unquote knowledge. Like they just talk about it.
He's a con man too, basically. Yeah. And his name is Harry Septon.
My God, even that name sounds like fake, con man type of way. And so, he's, loving her up and all that jazz. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, have you thought about, what I talked about the money recently or whatever?" And, she's like, "I don't know. That's, it's kind of, for Nicki's like college, tuition trust fund or whatever. So she could go to college or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, it's fine. This will double your money in like months or whatever type of thing." And so she goes, writes him a check later on, because he showed her like this laundromat that he wanted to buy or something like that, saying, "Oh, these people are always going to keep coming to wash their clothes, and then they get their clothes dirty, and they're going to come back, and they're going to keep feeding the machine orders, whatnot." And so she gives him, a check or whatever. And Nicki kind of has like a little bit of argument with her earlier, because she just doesn't like this guy. And so she skips school because I guess like her boyfriend, or just like some older boy or older guy.
I think it's her boyfriend. So
yeah. So he was gone for a while for some reason. I don't remember why. And so she saw him because he dropped off his sister or whatever to school or something like that.
Yeah.
And she decided she was going to ditch school, and she just rode in his car and wanted him to take her to the stables, because her mom owns like a horse stables company or something like that. And so she kind of just goes there and rides the horses. Then she comes back home and her mom's not there. And so what's his name again? Stenson, something like that. Stenson.
It's Harry. Oh wait, yeah, Harry Spenton.
Yeah, Harry Spenton. He tries to rape her, and it's almost successful, but then she found like something sharp to stab him with or something like that. And then
it was like a letter opener or something.
A letter opener. And so she thinks, sorry, go ahead.
And I was gonna say he's weaseled basically her the money that was supposed to be for her to go to college or something, or her savings or whatever, her trust fund, out of he's basically weaseled that out of her mom. So yeah.
Right. And later on, we find out that he does this with lots of older women that he seduces and or whatnot. And so she thinks, though, that she has killed this man, Harry, whatever I forgot his name again. But
Harry's good enough.
Yeah, Harry's fine. It's not Harry Potter. It's
no.
That's
maybe it is. Maybe this is what happens to Harry Potter when he gets older.
He goes back in time before he was born.
Yes.
Because canon Harry was born in 1981. So
yeah. So basically he goes back in time before he was born and becomes a sleazy con man.
At that point, he's already a full-fledged adult, even at that point, though, too. So
yeah.
So technically, he went back to like the 1940s to be born, and then waits about 28, 30 years to then who knows? He could have been younger. A lot people looked way older back then too. He could have been like 25 years old, the actor, but he looked like 40. So it's like I don't know why. It's just people look way old. I've seen a video about this actually, where it's not so much that people just look older, but it's like the film quality that people used back then that kind of made people look older because like it wasn't as good quality or whatever type of thing. But
so this came out in 1969, and he was born in 1938, so he would have been what, like 31?
So he looked way older than 31 to me. He looked at least 39 to 40, but he had a rough life. I mean, it's not easy conning your way into women's lives and getting money from them. It takes a lot of effort, because you gotta organize your time correctly. Because you gotta make sure that you don't raise suspicions, from one woman of like, oh, why are you leaving so quick? Oh, I have to go to the store. Yeah, that's what I need to do. And
the woman who played the mom was much older than him, though. She was born in 1915. So
1915. Holy shit.
She just died 10 years ago too. So she lived she was 101 when she died.
Fuck, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. And so when she's gone, because she went to the stables herself to run, her business, and she was thinking of actually selling the stables to somebody just I don't know, didn't want to do it anymore or whatever. And so Harry, he tries to rape her. And
wait, I take that back. I just don't want people to criticize my math. She was 99, not 101. I did the math wrong. So yeah.
Who cares? It's like when it comes to that, it's like doesn't matter. Like, oh no, she was only 99 when she died, not 101. Like, okay, and like,
I just don't want anybody to get up all in my tweets and tell me this. Wait, no, nobody ever does that. Period. So,
actually, technically, you're wrong. I'm the expert of the School for Unclaimed Girls. Actually, I'm the one expert of this film. That would be awesome if we could find out anyone who was involved in this movie and like interview them. We should have done that for whatever. It's like,
yeah,
and it was too late now. But and so the scene goes on for way too long, in my opinion, for my comfort. I mean, well, none of it was comforting, but like, just I was like, can we just end it, please? Like, this is making me really uncomfortable. Like,
I mean, if this movie were made today, it would have gone by a lot faster. And yeah. I mean,
and
because I've seen like episodes similar, plots similar to this on like Criminal Minds or CSI or something, So yeah.
Yeah, I know. It was just like, I don't know. It's just like it was just really because like the audio back then was not as good, so it's like whenever she screamed, it had like this distortion effect, from it, and it just made it sound drill, which it's like
a lot of it. I think that might have even been done on purpose, though, too, to make the because there's this weird like nightmarish sort of like effects that they have with the audio and the video at times, So yeah, yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. And so basically, she gets sent to this reformatory, quote unquote, school. It's not really a school. It's pretty much they just like have to live there, and like they don't like they just have to stay there basically until the court decides, what they want to do with them.
Unless there's some scenes some stuff that happens there that we're not seeing, where they actually do some kind of, they do have like psychological like meetings with like your psychiatrist and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, because there's that, because she's trying to get Nicki to talk, and for a while she won't even speak. She's got like, she's just become like mutism almost. If you them out, I'm not sure how you say it, but and yeah, she thinks that she's killed Harry, and so she feels like a lot of guilt, for that too, even though technically she didn't do anything wrong, but like she did kill him. And then the psychiatrist or psychologist is like, no, like he's fine actually. He's like just got injured a little bit. So she's like, oh, I guess I didn't kill him, whatever, it's fine. And then not really.
No, she keeps saying that she killed him. She keeps saying it.
She keeps saying it like she's convinced. But I think it's because when she was saying that, she was actually thinking of her dad. I think it's because it was like a trick, like, oh, she was actually talking about her dad, type of thing. And of course, her dad was actually a nice man, not like this guy is, And then she meets the other girls, and they got like their own like cliques, and like I don't really understand it too. Can you talk? Because I'm kind of blanking here.
So basically, we've got like, okay, so there's a bunch of what Wikipedia calls maladjusted girls, delinquent and maladjusted. There's like, I guess, bullying and violence is the norm there. She's basically trying to keep to herself. So it appears that these girls are in there for like weird things, like things that today you would not be put in a place like this for, because one of them's pregnant.
Right.
Another girl is a lesbian. It's
1969. I mean, that was different time.
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, I think two of the girls are lesbians because they have a relationship, or at least bisexual, and
yeah, they have some kind of a relationship with each other. One of them is like totally psychotic, though.
Yeah,
which that was another trope right back in that day too, of like lesbians were always seen as like really unhinged, like mentally and stuff. Like they're at least one of the partners. Like if you go back to that era, if there ever is a lesbian couple, like almost every single time, one of them's gonna be like completely unhinged. Like, and that was just like a trope they had back in the day. And the other one was like supposed to be quote unquote the man. That's not me. That's what they used to call it. They would say, relationship.
You'd have a more what they would call like butch one or whatever at the time. That's
what they would say. The man. That's old lingo. For anyone who's younger than 30, that's like old lingo that people use. Like, it's just the way it was back then,
Yeah, I remember back in 1969 when I was a kid. I wasn't alive then, so yeah. No.
We went back in time.
Yes, me and Harry Potter.
You were conning older women for money, and to buy that business.
We were making out like bandits and very old men.
Is that Smashing Bird you used to know?
Yep. Smashing Bird that I used to know. Smashing Bird. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so
do that as like a second hit because he had no more hits after that.
I know, but he chose to kind of step back. So, so she like befriends one of the lesbian inmates, Sarah, kind of the more, I guess, manly one of the two, if you want to go with that,
mature person in the whole group of people.
Yeah. So basically, she kind of becomes Nicki's protector in the place, and a friendship develops. Sarah does, however, like reveal her like more vulnerable side about what happened to her and why she's there and all that stuff, and they begin to be a little bit closer. But that like sets off the girl that she was with. I can't remember the name of it. I don't know which one it was. Which girl?
Yeah, I don't remember either. Shit.
And she like basically attacks her, and there's like this big brawl in the middle of the night in the place where everybody's like beating each other with like pillows and other shit, and the other girl gets like hurt and falls down and like hurts her head. I thought she was dead.
Yeah, I was actually scared about it. I'm like, oh god, they accidentally. That was the other weird thing too. So like a lot of the girls seem like, I mean, it kind of makes sense if you think about it, because you're kind of in a stressful type of environment situation.
Yeah.
You kind of want to let out whatever kind of pent up energy you have. But it seemed like a lot of the girls were just looking for an excuse to fight. Like they had like there was no reason why they were fighting each other. Like,
and that's how I was when I was in that home for girls that I was put in when I was a kid.
That's kind of weird.
I was fighting the other. Wait, no, I was never in that. I keep getting lost in movies and thinking I'm the characters. Yeah,
well, that means you're like Abed almost, like from Community. Yeah. Like,
I mean, I remember that time when I used to like swim in the water and chase humans, and that and there was that music going dun dun dun,
dun, dun, yeah, the
playing in the background, and then I like ate I tried to like eat Richard Dreyfuss and whatnot, and that was a good time.
Good stuff. Yeah. And like too, like they got this. Oh, sorry, they got this this girl. I guess she never wants to take a shower for some reason, so they like force her to. That was really uncomfortable to watch too.
Yeah. Was she the other lesbian girl?
She was like she never wanted to take a shower for some reason. I don't know what that was about. And so to punish her, the other lesbian, her girlfriend or whatever, pretty much forced all the other girls to basically give her like a shower, and it was just really, really uncomfortable to watch because she clearly didn't want it, and they were just like scrubbing her really hard. And just, oh man, this is really uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah.
Because it almost, I mean, I guess talk about sexploitation. It almost felt to me like almost like it was a stand-in for rape is what they were doing. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because they were like forcing her against the wall and shit. You know
That's
what I mean?
what happens every time I take a shower, though.
No, it's
No.
wow.
The
and then
so like, but basically they have this big fight at one point because the girl's jealous of Sarah and Nicki, and then Sarah and Nicki, after this girl falls, and they think that the girl might be dead, and she's like, they're going to be blamed for it, so they plan with the pregnant girl an escape out through the bathroom like window or something. So
see, the screws are loose, and all you gotta do is loosen the screw. I guess they've been playing this for a while or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically you gotta loosen the screws. You can lift up the bathroom window. By the way, too, the girl who's pregnant, she decided she was gonna have the baby because she got really attached to the baby. And well, that's the other weird thing too. So just think about this: 1969 Britain, right? We tend to look at the 60s as like this period of like liberation, and things like that. In some ways, yes, that was true, but still, a lot of the old ways were still ever present. They were pretty much the law of the land at that point. And so, just think about this for a second. This girl got pregnant, and she was unmarried, and because of that, they sent her to a fucking reformatory school.
Yeah,
like literally,
the thing is, it's like a lot of people, what they think of the 60s is they're all thinking like Woodstock and free love and all that shit. But a lot of that didn't really happen until the 70s. Like the reforms, and like Roe v. Wade and all that other stuff, it didn't really happen.
Laws. Yeah.
So it's like the demonstrations and laws and stuff. I mean, some of it started during that, but it didn't really happen until, I'd say, after Vietnam ended, So.
Oh yeah, the late 70s at the very earliest. Yeah,
a lot of the stuff kind of came to be, but but when we look back on things, like even the clothing of the time, like a lot of the clothing that people are saying about like bell bottoms and shit like that didn't really happen until the 70s more so than the late 60s. It's just kind of weird how we always put this like we think everybody was the same in these times, and there's just as many different people as there are today. So yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. It wasn't like everything.
It wasn't like everybody at this time was listening to the Beatles and singing "Kumbaya" and stuff. It was there were a bunch of racist conservative assholes and stuff too that were more in power. And so yeah, which makes me really wonder, when was America great? But then we're talking about a movie in England though, so I'm not really sure. So.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So we've got this we've got they escape, but the pregnant girl stays, and she basically is a distraction because like one of the like headmistress type chicks or whatever she is, she comes in and suspects what's going on, and so the pregnant girl just basically pretends that she was having labor pains and stuff so she can distract them while the other two escape through the window. But Nicki's the only one to make it out because then Sarah is apprehended by some people when they were trying to leave. So
yeah.
So anyways, soon after Nicki avoiding capture, she manages to make it to Peter's flat, Peter, her boyfriend, in the village, where he works for an interior designer. So the sensible Peter tries to convince her, he's trying to convince her like, yo, you got to turn yourself in.
Yeah, you got to go back.
Yeah. It's like, I couldn't tell though at first, like if he was going to turn out to be a creep or not, but luckily he didn't, but somebody else did.
Yeah. Someone else did.
Yeah. He basically, commits us. He says, well, I guess you can stay here. And they, in this like art place that he and his business partner make art.
I
Because
guess
I guess that was a viable profession at the time, unlike now. Um,
you could actually open up like a quote art studio and actually make money back then. I know it's
yeah.
crazy.
I mean, I guess you can in bigger cities. Maybe that's why. But I mean, because I'm sure you could do that in, a bigger city than, somewhere in Ohio where we live, So,
yeah, true.
yeah. I mean, there is an art gallery down the street from me here too. So I don't know. So it's,
I guess maybe it worked.
yeah, but it's not like just, two dudes making art and selling it in a place like this seems to be. So.
Your design. Was the other guy's name Patrick or some shit?
It was
Doesn't really matter.
Jeffrey.
Yeah,
Yeah, like the giraffe.
Like
like the giraffe.
Yeah. So Jeffrey basically tries to rape her as well. So
yeah.
Sorry, went ahead a little bit, but
no, go ahead. It's good because basically, so that happens, and he gets in her head, and he's calling himself Daddy, which like fucks with her.
Okay, so yeah, basically, okay, that scene really fucked with my head. So basically, that's where the phrase "the cock horse" came from. So the deal was she would like sleep in the basement for a few days, and then she would work at the shop during the daytime, like basically being like an assistant type of person or whatever. And so she can't really sleep, at night, and so she finds like all this like art stuff, and like she finds like a hobby horse like in the basement or whatever. So she gets on the horse and starts riding it, and then that's when they bring in this song talking about the cock horse or whatever, and then she's having like flashbacks of like, on the carousel and her dad being crushed to death by a tiny little horse. I don't know. And then somehow bloodied him up to the point where his face was not distinguishable, which, okay, fine, whatever. And then so she's screaming, "I killed him! I killed him!" with like distortion and shrill scream. Then he comes in because he hears all this shouting going on. And so, I knew he was going to do something because he was acting really weird beforehand. Like, just like,
yeah.
Is she cool? Is she, or whatever, something like that. Like,
I thought something deeper was going to happen. Like he was going to make her like pimp her out or something.
Well, that too, yeah.
That was going to happen. But then I looked at the running time of the movie and I was like, oh, we're getting towards the end, so I don't think that's going to happen.
That wouldn't happen. There's too much time.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, he kind of, shakes her out of her reverie or whatever. And but he starts calling himself Daddy. And so she's like having like still like in her mind space, still thinking about, dad. And so it looks like for a moment, it looks like her dad is like trying to hug her. And then like she immediately sees Jeffrey's face. And like, oh my God, this is like so inappropriate and crazy. Like on so many levels here. And then, yeah, he basically tries to, rape her. And what's his name? Edward or Eddie Edward, something like that. What's Pete? Pete? Name?
Oh, her boyfriend?
Yeah, Pete or Edward or
her boyfriend's name is Peter. Yeah.
Oh, Peter.
Yeah.
Peter basically throws the guy, off of her. And she leaves basically, because that's like the second time someone has tried to rape her in like 2 days, basically, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then so Peter's like, hey, you really got to go back now. It's not safe for you just to be like walking the streets, basically. I mean, look what happened already, And then she's like, oh, I'm not going to go. I'm just going to do my own thing. But then she changes her mind, basically just wants to ride in his car with him. And I have no fucking idea why they decided to end. Can you say, I feel embarrassed. Can you tell the ending?
So basically, the end, okay, so she basically says to Peter that, it's like, take me home, and they get in the car and they're driving. And then they're in this bottleneck type passage, like where, cars kind of pass each other, but it kind of curves and stuff. And there's a big truck approaching, and then it causes them to veer off the road and over a bridge to their deaths, where the car lands and then explodes. And then the movie ends with a scene where creepy Harry is like running his scheme on another woman.
Right.
And then the movie ends.
Horse scene, a horse race, get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Why did you kill your protagonist here?
You killed both of your protagonists, and it was like for no reason. Because the thing too, they're like, oh, I think things are finally starting to look up, and then they die. I'm like, okay, come on.
And honestly, I would have liked to known what happened to like Sarah and the other girls at the place too.
Well, that's what I'm saying too, because Sarah was becoming like a main character, and then all of a sudden, gets caught, and then she just basically tells Nicki to, run without her. It's at least one of them will get free, type of thing. And then, so I'm thinking, Sarah must be all broken up to learn that, Nicki died in a fiery car crash. And nope. But why they end it with Harry doing his scheme? Like, they tried to imply that he had something to do with their death. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. There's no connection to it, and it's just like, or maybe it's just showing you that life sucks and people just keep scheming, and
that's what I'm saying. Like, oh, life goes on, and Harry, the piece of shit who tried to rape her, which she was a high school student at the time.
I mean, this is definitely like this movie, if it was made like under the Hays Code in the United States back in the day, where films had to like adhere to certain things, where the bad people had to get their comeuppance, like where, it was just like you had to show that the bad people are the ones that are going to be punished at the end and stuff. There was other codes. There used to be a rule in Hollywood. Wow. Like if you wanted your film to be rated by the Hays Code, which was the precursor to like the Motion Picture Association, which we have today, used to be the MPAA, but now there used to be the Motion Picture Association of America, and now it's just the Motion Picture Association. But that gives you. That eventually came up with the ratings that we have of G and PG and all that shit, So, yeah, it's like
I did not know that. That's pretty interesting.
It would. I mean, if people would be interested, send me a message at mike@colinpark.com if you want us to do like a deep dive into the Hays Code and the history of film ratings, because it's really interesting history. I in my film studies class in college, we went all deep into it, and it was just very, very interesting to me. Like, they would have things like you couldn't have two a man and a woman in a bed at the same time together.
Right. Okay, I knew that one.
You could have them sitting on the bed together, but at least one of them had to have their feet on the ground, or one of their feet on the ground.
Wow.
So it didn't imply that they were going to have sex. It's just like different weird shit. Like, there was rules against smoking in certain ways, and different, there was, but one of the major things was that the bad guy had to get what was coming to him before the end of the movie. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
but this guy, Harry's alive and well and scamming older women.
You definitely couldn't have a movie like where basically, if you committed a crime, you had to be punished for it.
You be punished. I got.
So, like, I just recently watched, Deadpool and Wolverine, and Deadpool, like, thinking of the Deadpool movies, he kills a bunch of people. There's no way he would have been able to be the protagonist of the fucking movie.
No.
Yeah,
exactly. I really want to. I probably have to wait until it comes out on Disney or whatever. But it was pretty cool. Yeah, I know. Just like this movie was it was like an art film in some ways, like you said, Sexploitation in other ways. But I thought it was pretty interesting. I'm just kind of concerned because I only did like a little reading of it, on Wikipedia, and it said that like I just kind of like browsed it, and it said that like one of the actors was like 15. I'm really hoping it's not the main one, because that would mean that they were doing that,
yeah, I'm wondering how old she was at the time.
It could have been a different character. I'm like hoping it's a different character.
She was 20 when this was made.
Okay, so maybe it was someone else. And
maybe one of the other girls in it or something.
Good. So I would she was like
20. Like the woman who played Sarah, she was older than that. She was like 23 or 24 at the time. So yeah, okay. It's Okay, so
it at least. Like I know sometimes they used to do like crazy shit like that. I'm like like you guys were just okay with this. This was like legal at the time.
But Leslie Ann Down, who was born in 54, so what would that make her in 69? That's
early 15, yeah.
So she was pretty young. I don't know which girl
what character was. Maybe she was the pregnant.
Her character's name was Diana. I don't know which one she was. If she was the
I don't know.
One of the other girls, or the lesbian, or the pregnant girl, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I mean, I don't remember any of the names of these characters.
Neither. It was hard to keep up with them.
Yeah.
I wish I might have to look it up later, but it's hard to remember all those girls' names. So I
mean, there's a lot of characters. I mean, there's like 15, 20, well, maybe like 12 people. And you remind me too about this. You're talking about the Hays Code and stuff.
Yeah.
This guy made a video recently. It's not about the Hays Code, but like tracking down the origin of the Roblox quote death sound. Mm-hmm. And it was just like hilarious, like going through like he found like this video game called Messiah back then. It was like a PC game. It was like really just, like the graphics were horrible. And like I guess like you have to play like a cherub, like baby angel at one point, and like whenever the baby angel like runs into something, it makes it like sound, and somehow that got recorded and picked up and was going through all, and basically eventually it found its way into I didn't watch the whole video, but like found its way into the Roblox game. I'm just like, that's insane that you track down like the origin of like a sound. And they talked about the Wilhelm scream a lot in that.
Yeah,
as well. How many times that was used, like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, like all kinds of.
It's used in like every movie almost. Yeah.
And so that was I didn't watch the whole video, but it was.
Yeah, I wish I could figure out who Leslie Ann Down played in this movie. I really want to know now. So
I don't know.
Most well-known actress in the movie, and I don't know what she played.
Maybe she only played like a bit role in it. Like maybe she was a psychiatrist.
No, she was like 15 at the time. So
okay, never mind. I thought.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know much. Mm-hmm. I'm not good at. I'm only good at like memorizing like famous actors' names. I can't do like.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just, it's hard to.
She probably only gets like a bit role, and he probably didn't even like name her character or something like that. Like.
Mm-hmm. No, she's her character's name is named. It's Diana. I'm just trying to figure out who Diana was.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly.
If she was the pregnant girl or one of the other girls. So
yeah, I don't know.
I guess I think she was the pregnant girl, but I'm not sure. So because it kind of looks like her when she was younger, or she was maybe another girl. I don't know. I think that's Leslie Ann Down.
There was one black girl that they met their quota back then.
Yeah.
And, back then they didn't even need a quote unquote quota. So back then it was like
you didn't even need that today, and unfortunately. So
DEI. They found their EI.
So on Wikipedia there is a critical reception to this, like a written from at the time from the Monthly Film Bulletin in Great Britain. And they said that it's a preposterous blend of cheap melodrama and pat psychology with a large slice of life after lights out in a girl's remand home thrown in for good measure. Robert Hartford Davis's bludgeoning direction combines a frenzied excess of trickiness, monochrome filters, repeated flashbacks and negative, a ludicrous jigsaw of superimposed flash shots, with a tasteless relish for gory detail, like the recurring close-ups of poor Nicki's father's head being mangled by the iron hoof of a mechanical horse. And one is not surprised to find him working in a shot of a poster advertising his last film. The story is trite, the dialogue almost unbelievably banal, and the acting generally feeble, with the possible exception of Maureen Lipman as one of the less unlikely remand home inmates. And she's the one that played, Maureen Lipman played Sarah, I believe.
She
did.
Good. Okay. I mean, I don't agree, but okay.
Mhm. Yeah, I just thought that was an interesting review.
Yeah.
To read a review from that era is interesting, and how they wrote it. So
It just
yeah.
sounds like a typical snob, who
Oh yeah.
thinks they know better. Yeah, I hate those people. These are the type of people who don't even make movies. They don't even make an
Hmm.
effort or direct. But then they go and they go, oh, the little cigars or cigarettes in their mouth, and, and it's like, fuck you. Yeah, It's like, I hate those kind of people so much. Whatever.
Yeah, me too. As we sit here and review movies all the time.
But the difference is though, is that we know what we're doing here. Like we're not like we're not. What I mean is like we're not deluded into thinking that we're doing anything other than what we're doing. Like,
Yeah.
and so it's a little bit different. And it's not like we don't come at it with like a film like, oh, they used the wrong angle in that particular scene, and like we don't do that bullshit, like.
Well, I have. But anyway, so
Well, I don't remember that, but
I'll fully admit that I have criticized movies, not necessarily on this podcast, for using the wrong angles and making bad
you write
choices.
anything, but did you write anything close to establishes that? I don't think so.
No, not really. But I will
Yeah.
tell you that I think the cinematography and editing was horrible in Mamma Mia. But anyway, so
Well, that's different. I know
Yeah.
that there's no excuse for that one because of how much the budget was and everything. But yeah.
So anyways, any other final thoughts here before we wrap things up?
No, I'm all good. I just I'm hoping I'm not gonna smash a bird here or have birds smash into my window. So I'm gonna have to open up my window to make sure that it flies in safely.
I mean, I did smash some turkey tacos earlier. Does that mean the same thing?
No, I don't think so. Oh, like the Smashing Pumpkins, we could call it the Smashing Birds.
Yeah.
like a British Smashing Pumpkins cover band.
Yeah, and instead of 1979, our song is 1969. Anyway,
Exactly. Exactly. They got to rewrite all their songs to have like a British theme to it. Like,
well, they already have the one. Despite all my rage, it's still just oh no, that's a rat in a cage, not a bird in a cage.
Just a bird in a cage. Yeah.
That should be the new title.
Yeah. But
they should combine that with like with Why the Cage Bird Sings and just make it.
Yes, they can just do like, oh man, I love those puns though.
Yeah.
There's this Genesis album. I've been listening to a lot of old Genesis lately, like back when Peter Gabriel was the lead singer.
Mm-hmm.
And they have this album called "Selling England by the Pound," and it's just like it's such a cool metaphor because pound is like a currency in England, but also feel like pound is like a weight measure thing, So it's like, and like it opens up with just him singing, like there's no instruments, and then it's like selling England by the pound, and it goes in this really cool guitar riff, like do 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 do.
If you'd like to know more about that, turn into our new podcast.
What's that? Yeah.
Tune into our new podcast, All2 Music with
All2 Music. I talk about Genesis albums.
That's it. No other bands ever.
Just Genesis.
And only with Peter Gabriel.
That era. And I'll do a separate where it's only Phil Collins.
Yes. And then you talk about the solo careers like Phil Collins and then Mike and the Mechanics and stuff like that. So anyways, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, be sure to go to Apple Podcast and give All2ReelToo a 5-star review there. Go to all2reeltoo.com and check out all the links to all of our good stuff, like our social media, our TeePublic, our Patreon. Those are good ways to help support the show. Best way is to just share the show with your friends. Tell your friends to, listen. If you happen to be like in a car that's going over a bridge while you're like, falling down, instead of like screaming random things, just scream, check out all2reeltoo.com. And then, that'd be good. And, and then the car explodes.
Yeah.
Yes, make your dying words that. And just remember, folks, that until next time, I love you. I didn't kill my daddy. And
and Sesame rode a cock horse. Sorry.
yes, you did. Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All2ReelToo podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.